Welcome! This is my first modding video, and today we'll be doing a walkthrough on how to update a mod with Advanced Genie Editor. I'll start by saying that I'm not some expert modder. In fact, I only started very recently, because I wanted to update and modify a bunch of stuff in a mod that I play often, which is the 10x Shared Civ bonus mod, is the name of this channel after all. What we'll go through, though, is valid information if you want to create a mod from scratch. It's not just to update an existing one. Principle is the same, really. Also, a reason for this video is that there are not a lot of visual video resources for modding on YouTube. So maybe I can help some people that are just starting or thinking about it. Anyway, let's begin. We'll start by opening Advanced Genie Editor. So here is the path to open Advanced Genie Editor. So it will be in your Steam folder. So Steam app, common, AoE 2DE. We go back, tool builds, Advanced Genie Editor tray.exe is the program you want to open. You just click on it, and this window will open for you. There's a lot of information, but the only thing that really matters, at least when you begin, I haven't dig too much into other stuff to be honest, but what matters for us is this line right here. That is the data set. And that's what we're gonna pull from and we're gonna modify later on. Just make sure that you're under Age of Empire Definitive Edition because there's a lot of other game and version of Age of Empire that use this as well. So this, what we have right here, is the path to the base game. And I'll tell you right now, I've never tried modifying this directly. Probably not a good idea. So what you want to do is take that, make a copy of it on your desktop somewhere if you want to modify the file directly. But for my purpose right now, I'll be opening this one because I want to compare and see. It's already open though, so I'm just going to close that. And I believe this one right here, yes, this one right here is the base game data file. And very quickly, if you want to modify a mod that you already own, simply go into the game, click escape, mods, either in the install mod or my mods, and open the directory. This will open the path without you having to fiddle around to try and find it, and simply extract the data file that you need. And then you can either put that in quick access if you plan on using it a lot, or maybe copy it somewhere else and then play around with it. So as you can see, we have two Advanced Genie Editor open, two windows. The one on the right is for the base game, so just the normal data file for Age of Empire DE. And the one on the left is the mod that we're gonna play with. So the 10x Shared Civ bonus mod that we're gonna update a bit. And just to do a quick overview, might as well to start. At the top, you'll see many tabs. The one that we're gonna use the most will be the text, FX, civilization a bit, and units. Those are the foundation of any mod, really, that we're gonna update. And then, of course, you have the open and save. If you want to open a different mod, save your mod, etc. So, if we do a quick overview here, at the unit tab, there is all unit in the game. If you scroll down here, you see there is a lot. Some of them are placeholder, of course, in case you want to add a new one, or if the dev decide to get a new patch and they use those in case. If we can just search for a unit randomly, legionary, for example, as you can see, internal name, all the stats. Some things are not really interesting for us, but if we scroll down a bit, we see hit point, speed, everything, a ton of stats. Remember, this is 10x, that's why some of the stats might be different what you're used to. We'll go over that in depth pretty soon, but let's just go back to the tabs. This is the civilization tabs. We won't be using it much, but it can be handy to find some text and effects for some of the civilization. For example, if we go to Koreans and we want to modify their team bonus, we see their team bonus is 505. So in effect, we do 505, find the Korean team bonus, and then we have the list of what they do here. So now, while we're in this tab as well, effect is where pretty much the magic happens. It's the engine behind all the bonuses, technologies, and everything. If you write C bonus, it will show you every civilization bonus in the game. Of course, some are a bit harder to find than others. Sometimes you have to dig through to find the one you want. Sometimes it can be a bit easier because there's keywords. For example, if you write hunt, it will give you the hunting bonuses of some of the civ, and you can deduce maybe from there where you want to go. So this one seems to be the Mongol one, 40% increase. This one is the Goth one, etc. An easier way to find this would be to go in technologies, because technologies and effects are linked in a way. And the same thing as the effect, everything, every technology is listed here, and there is a ton of them. And same principle, if you want to find a civ bonus, you can find it here. And if we look at the first one, which is like a pretty common one, the Aztec one, plus 5 HP to monk for every technology. And you can see it's linked to the effect 470 for this one. So fervor, 470. If we go here, we can find it. Plus 5 monk HP. It's 10x though, so it's plus 50 here. And you can see, we'll go over that pretty soon, but that's just an overview of how those tabs function. There's a lot of other tabs as well, but we won't be seeing them. It's more in-depth if you want to mod maybe some graphic, terrain, and other thing, but that's outside the scope of this. So right now, I had a little notepad for some of the change I wanted to make for this mod. I have plenty of other changes, but those are some of the easier and nicer ones, just to give a good idea of what we can do with Advanced Genie Editor. So here, updating units, armor change for Elite Breton. So let's go check that out. So the main reason I have two windows, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned it, is that I really like to compare the base game to the modified game. It might not be necessary for your mod, but sometimes I'd like to know what they've done in the base game and copy it in the mod that I'm working on, or at least want to see the logic behind what the dev did in their version and bring it back to mine. We'll see it come pretty handy. So if we go in unit, we said the Rattan Archer, there was something with the armor that was not quite right. So remember, this left side is the modded version, and this right side is the base game. So if we look at the unit, we can see in the tab right here, if we scroll down, hit point, speed, line of sight, search radius, so everything that is related to the unit is there. We also have the attacks and armor, so we can dictate the attack and bonus damage that the unit will have, as well as the armor and armor class. So if we take a quick look, we can see extra bonus damage against spearmen. So Rattan Archer plus 2, amount 2, class 27, which is spearmen, and we can change it pretty easily with this. Now, we can see there's other classes that are often added, but they have the amount of 0. So they are just there as placeholder. Maybe at some point they add a bonus and they removed it. Doesn't really matter. If it's 0, nothing will happen. So no bonus damage against standard building. The base damage of the unit is 6. And everything else, I believe, is at 0. So no bonus against infantry, nothing against siege as well. And if you look on the right a bit more, shown attack. So it has 6 spears, as we can see for the class 3. Shown attack 6. There's a frame delay, accuracy, everything that can be modified if you so desire. If we go down a little, we can see the armor. And same as the attack, some are at 0, perfectly normal. And what we're interested in is base pierce armor, 4. So normal Rattan Archer, good against Archer pretty much. That's what this unique unit does. And if we keep scrolling down to see roughly a bit of what's happening, some of those I haven't touched, to be honest, but there's a ton of things you can modify with the unit. There's also the animation here, collision size can be interesting, and you can see all of that right here. So what we wanted to do here was to change the armor, because there was a bug or an oversight that I found in the 10x shared save bonus mod with the elite Rattan Archer. So 10x, for those that don't know, the elite upgrade is multiplied by 10. So it's 10x as well. So if you gain +1 armor, +1 attack from your elite upgrade, in 10x you'll gain 10 attack, 10 armor. So for the Rattan Archer, if we check in this section, the armor was the issue. So base armor is 4, elite Rattan Archer is 6. So if we follow the next logic, the armor should increase from 4 plus 20, so it should be 24. And if we look on the left side here, armor, the base one is unaffected, so it should be 4, perfect. And the other one is 14 for the elite version. So that is wrong, just an oversight probably. Doesn't matter too much, but 10 armor is pretty significant. So let's fix that. We just switch it to 24 right here. As easy as that. And we also have to change the shown pierce armor, else the number will look a bit weird in the game. But as long as this one is right, that will be the armor. So that's it. Very easy. Everything that is in this section, in the statistics section, is very easy to modify, to change. You just save, update, upload your mod, and that's it. New unit. You can make a lot of things. Next one. I guess I can put a little X here. Next one. Modify Elite Keshik Gold Generation. Also, something I've noticed in 10x, the gold generation for Keshiks was a bit weird. They were generating a lot of gold. Maybe a bit too much. So let's see why is that. So it's the same reason why I work with 2 window, because it is easier to check those things. So if I scroll down a bit, in this section, this is in the base game, we can see line 5 through 25 is the gold generation of the Keshik. So pretty much it's special ability that when you hit a unit, it generates gold. And why there's so many lines is because you cannot just tell the game when you hit a unit, you generate gold. You have to specify what class of unit or what specific unit. So you can see here we have Archer, and then tediously we need to put everything. So Archer, Infantry, Cavalry, Siege, Monk, all of that, trade cards, Civilian. So a bit tedious, but you need to pretty much check all your bases. And as you can see here, option 151, generate resources. And how do you specify its gold? It's right here. Gold storage is being increased. So if you wanted, you could make a raiding unit for fun that generates all kind of resources. Wood, food, you can make, pretty sure you can make stone. Yeah, stone as well. Why not? That's a fun little thing. It's a bit of a chieftain on steroid. So here, if we go through the logic, so 151, generate resource, it's gold. How much is it? It's 3 gold multiplied by the work value right here of 0.01. And here, productivity resources, so reading productivity to be the multiplier of the gold being generated. And that's what we want to check. And if we look at elite, sorry, I'm stumbling on my word, elite Keshiks, it is as well 0.01, the same thing. There is no increase in this ability at all. So with the 10x logic, the Keshiks should also not have an increase with its elite upgrade. So if we look at the 10x mod, class action type 151, it is 0.01, the same as it should be here. And if we check the elite Keshik, there you go. It is not 0.01, it's 0.1. So they 10x that value. So instead of generating something like, I think it was something like 0.3 gold roughly per hit, you're looking at 3 gold per hit. Or something like that. I'm not entirely sure how the calculation will work for this, but it was a lot of gold. So what we need to do here is add a 0 to every section, which is pretty tedious. So 0, 0, 1. I do this instead. There you go. Copy paste. Pretty tedious. There's a lot of tedious work in here. Just changing armor, HP, movement speed, all that is pretty easy. But there's some stuff, because of how the game engine is built, you need to make sure you cover every unit in the game, every class of unit, and you need to change everything slowly. And here, I believe, we are done. One other thing here, but I don't think it matters for us. So everything's been fixed here, 0.01, same thing as the other side. Sometimes it's not really hard to modify all of those things. It can just take a lot of time figuring out where to go, but once you found out where it is and how the logic of Genie Editor works, it is pretty approachable. At first you might be overwhelmed, but give it some time and work through it. And you can do some pretty fun thing with it. So right now, that concludes our unit overview. So there's a bunch of things you can see here. So like the raiding aspect is kind of fun with some unit, like the Keshiks, and you can change every normal statistics of the unit as well in the top section. So not too bad at all. Now if we move on to the text and effects, what we want to see is Goths, cheaper infantry start in feudal. I did put maybe here because I wasn't sure if I wanted to put it in the mod officially, but we'll go over it and see how it's done first. So luckily, finding technologies, like went over it a bit earlier, is kind of easy. It used to be more difficult, I believe, when I watch other videos that are pretty old. They streamlined it a little. So what we want here is the infantry bonus, I believe. So just write infantry. There you go. Pretty easy. Sometime like you could write Goth. It's probably not what we want. Infantry. Or sometimes you just have the percentages of your bonus. And here you can look. You see that's the Inca one. We go down. Oh, here's the Goth one. Viking. So there's different way to go about to find what you want. But here we just need to make sure. So C bonus, infantry cost minus 20%, and we can see civilization here, trait the Goths. And like we went over earlier, we need to find its effect. So that's the technology, and the effect is what make the technology what it is. So 342. So we have to go right here in effect. 342. That's the one we want. And as we can see, team multiply attribute 100. So the resource cost is multiplied by you enter the amount, so it's 0 here. So as you can see here, the option 15 is a train attribute multiplier, but there's also a ton of other modifier that you can use. So you team modify tech, spawn unit, modify tech. There's a ton of things that you can do. Sometimes a multiplier, sometimes it can be additive, subtract, all of that. I haven't touched half of those, to be fair, but there's a ton of things you can do. Sky is the limit, really. So here, pretty simple. Resources multiplied by 0 cost nothing. So what we wanted to do is to remove this option, the feudal reduction, cost reduction for the infantry for the Goths. So what we can do is we can either delete this, so the bonus doesn't do anything, or another way would be to change the effect here and put it at -1, which is none. Meaning that there would be no effect at all. So we don't touch the effect section in case, let's say I change my mind and I want to move it back. So instead of having to redo everything here, I'll just have to refine whatever it was right here, which I 300 something, I believe. I'm not sure. We can just scroll through it until we find it. So -1, pretty easy. And that's removed the technology pretty much. And if we look at the other option, so the Goths, so here that was at the start of the game, so in Dark Age. In Feudal, they gained the other option, or the next version, which is 25% reduction, and then so and so, and those are still active. But we removed the Dark Age version, which is what we wanted. Very nice. Let's put a little X here. Next one, modify Flemish Revolution to only allow for the Flemish militia to be built at the barracks and not affect existing villager. So what we're doing here is that in 10x, for those that are aware, Flemish militia is a bit of a catastrophe most of the time. Because if you research it for the whole team. So the entire economy is gone and everything turned into Flemish militia. And most of the time, people research it by accident. You're not used to the thing. Usually, researching a technology is just 99% of the time is good, but not in this case. So we want to avoid that and just not allow that. So we can either do the same thing we did here, so remove the effect entirely, or we can slightly modify it to not do the bad thing. Because Flemish militia in itself, while not a great unit, can be interesting. So we can keep the barrack part of your unit over here. So now, with that said, we need to find the technology. So the pretty sure if we type Flemish, yeah, there you go. Pretty easy. Flemish Revolution, FX 791. And as you can see, require Imperial, research location at the castle. That's the effect, and that's the cost right here. And it's available to the Burgundian. So if we go to 791, here it is. So team upgrade unit, fisherman, to Flemish militia. And like on map, like you can see, so there is a lot of line. That's because we have fisherman, which is probably the fisherman male, fisherman female, basic villager, builder, forager. So every villager that is assigned to a task is technically a different unit. So we need to change it, everything. So shepherd, gold miner, and everything. And then the team enable unit 1699, which is the Flemish militia. So what we want to do, so we didn't want to get rid of it, we just want to get rid of the part where all the units on the map are changed to Flemish militia, which kills the economy. So pretty easy here, is just delete everything here. I don't recommend deleting stuff most of the time, but for our purpose here, that's really the easiest solution. So just delete all of that, and we keep the team enable unit 1699. And there it is. Not much more complicated than that. When you know where to look, when you know what you want to do, it's usually pretty simple. Sometimes it gets more involved, but in our case here, find the technology, modify it, and that's it. Now, moving on. Adjust Saracen market back to normal value. Alright, that one's a special one because if we search for market, is it here? Not this one. There you go. Saracen market. The trade exchange rate is a bit busted in 10x. Some people like it, some people don't. I'm not that huge of a fan, especially since most people that play either don't know about it. No matter, I digress. So we'll be changing it back to the normal value. And as you can see, there's two of them, I think. It seems there's one and one in Castle Age. No matter, we'll modify both here. So first 354 and 355 that we need to look at. So if we look at 354, so team set resource, trade vig rate. So the rate is changed to minus 0.01. It's in the negative, which I assume is the reason why you can pretty much print money with that. You just have an infinite amount of gold, you just make more gold in your exchange, which doesn't make sense really, but someone had fun with it at some point. And then you also see that this bonus is linked with the other Saracen bonus, which make the market cost, I believe, minus 100 wood. And in 10x, it's just free. So set the wood cost to 0. So what I want now is to make it back to normal. So I don't know what normal is. So if I check market here, is the same one. So I should have went straight to this one. Effect 354. See bonus market. There you go. Set resource to 0.05. So that's the base game rate being set to here. That'd be 5%. As you can see, minus 100 wood for the other one. So same tech, 0.05, which is what we want. So we can just switch it here, and here it's done. And if you wanted to not make it negative, but make it an in-between, right? So it can be better, but not printing infinite amount of gold. You could reduce it to somewhere in between, I think, as long as it's not negative. Or you can even put it to 0, which I guess you could trade both way. Maybe some testing that could be done. But either way, for now, we'll set it to back to what it was. So 5%, 0.05. And that's done. There you go. Fairly nice. And then for the last change I wanted to look at, this one is I put it at last because it's a bit more matty, a bit more involved, and shows the logic a bit behind some of the game mechanic. So fix Goths gather rate. So the Goths bonus for Hunt is multiple things. So increased damage on boars, more carry capacity, and the Hunt lasts 20% longer, I believe. In 10x is the same thing, except they're multiplied by 10, so the Hunt will last 200% longer. But the thing is that in 10x, the gather rate is something like 66, I believe, when I tried doing some testing, 66 per minute. So food per minute. And in the base game, it's around 24.6, I believe. So we have like 2 to 3 times faster gather rate on top of the having more food being collected overall, right? Because the hunt lasts longer. So that's just insane. And the Goths are really strong enough, right? So kind of weird they have that. Probably just an oversight because of what we'll look at. So if we look at hunt, so we went a bit over it earlier. So this hunt right here, that's a Mongol hunt. And the one we want is the Goths one. So this one, C bonus hunting, 414. If we go in effect, 414, and as we can see, team change, so the attack is changed here, the carry capacity is changed here. As you can see, there's Hunter 122, Hunter 216, female and male villager again. And then finally, team multiply resource 268, which is the Hunter productivity by 3.3. So that should be our 200% increase, 200% being 3. So I'm not sure why it's 3.3, but we'll double check. And then the work rate being lowered by 0.8. So we'll double check here in the base game. 414. So as you can see, attack, carry capacity. And right here, multiply resource to succeed by 1.23. So what that tells me is that in game, or at least in the tooltip, it says 20% more resource collected from huntable. So in the game, they probably put it to 1.23. I assume they probably made some tests, and they realized that there was decay rate, and to make it compensate for it, they increase it to 23% instead of 20%. It probably comes back to 20% anyway at the end of the day, which I think is what is happening. And here, if we look at line 5 and 6, we can see that it's multiplied by some amount. A work rate, the same that we saw on the other side, more or less. And that reason is most likely... okay, because when you collect resources with the hunter, the line 4 multiply that amount by 23%. So if you collect 1 food, it's like you collected 1.23 food. But you don't want... if you do that, you increase the gather rate. But you don't want the gather rate to be increased past the normal value, because that's not the bonus. The bonus is the food lasts longer. So if you collect 200 food, you'll collect 200 food times 1.23. So you have more food, but you don't want it to be collected faster. So they reduce, pretty much artificially reduce the work rate to compensate for it. And if we double check, if I can get my calculator, 1.23 times 0.81. There we go. They just balance it out to equate 1. Which because I'm pretty sure the boar is hard-coded into the game to be 24.6 unless it's modified. So 1 here would be a gather rate of 24.6. And that's what we want also in 10x. So here we have 23% times 10, so that'd be 3.3 makes sense, I believe. Yes, so we'll go with this. So what we want, so the 3.3 is good. This value is fine. But the work rate wasn't modified. And it needs to be modified to get back down to 1. It needs to equate 1 when they are multiplied. So what we want for the value will be 1 divided by 3.3. That's where math come in handy sometime. So the work rate need to be 0.3030, however amount you want. As long as it's close enough to 1, there's no problem. So let's go 3030. Perfectly fine. Let's copy paste. Voila. And if we double check, 3.3 times 0.303, pretty much 1. If you want to have more decimals, power to you. But that'd be fine there. And just a just as a double check. Because before it was 3.3 times 0.8, more or less. So before the boar was 2.64 times faster. Meaning, no, 24.6 is the base rate. So there you go. We get 65. That was the gather rate of the Goths on top of having way more food on their boar, which is pretty nutty. So, pretty big nerf, but we need to keep the logic here for the 10x. And that's where we're at. That was it. That was a quick overview. I say quick, that's probably the longest video I have ever done. But we've seen a bit of what we can do with Advanced Genie Editor. How to modify some units in the base statistic, how the effects work and how they are linked to technologies. And there's a lot more things that you can do. I might make more video. I think it's pretty fun. It's a bit of a side project for me right now. So hopefully that helps someone. And if you have any question or some things that weren't clear, feel free to ask away. I'll put timestamp in the description. That will be helpful. And big thanks for watching if you made it that far. Have a good day.